This week on Hunting University, Dirt and Charlie head to northern Wyoming and meet up with Powderhorn Outfitters, the managers of a vast tract of land overrun with trophy elk. Our hosts have brought along their limb saber bows to Powderhorn's first ever archery hunt, and they are anxious to get them into the field. The rut is in full swing on this week's Hunting University.
I'm looking at a buck with the rack so tall. I have to raise my ceiling just to get him on the wall. He's right where I want him, got him in my sights. I grab my bow and let the arrow fly. My heart's pumping fast, but my nerves are still. This seems like a dream, but I know it's for real. Charlie hit that, gonna let it ride from early in the morning till late at night. When it comes to hunting, everything you need to know is here on the Hunting University Show.
It's time for Hunting University with Charlie Ingram and Dirt King. Hunting University is brought to you by CZ USA, Hornady, Mid-South Shooter Supply, Heavy Shot, and Laser Genetics.
Today on Hunting University, old Dirt and I are in Wyoming, actually with Powderhorn Outfitters with Dan and Darwin Powers. We're going to be hunting at about 9,000 feet. You think that's really tough, but this is one of the best places that I've ever hunted in my life, and it's really a neat place. Last year, I happened to be wanting a place to hunt mule deer out here, so I went down the list and found a guy that owned 375,000 acres. And he said, well, I don't hunt anymore, but he said, I've turned it over to two brothers, and he said, they've managed this place for about 10 years. They have got the environment and the animals really working together, and he said they've got better elk and mule deer than this place has ever seen. He gave me Dan's phone number, and I called Dan, and that's why Dirt and I are here today. Now, Dan, you tell me you've been working on this place for over a decade and managing this herd of elk and mule deer.
Yes, we have, and it's been a plan where the rancher, Dave Flintner, and Powderhorn Outfitters all worked towards a common goal. We knew that with the land that he had and the way that he took care of his resources, his grass, his things like that, that we could have a wildlife mecca, and that's what we've created. We've been doing a lot of rifle hunting on it with limited numbers over the 10 years, and this is the first archery hunt that we've offered on this ranch. And working with you people, we thought we'd be able to show this and our pride in the whole project.
You've got about, what, 400 elk here on this place? And I mean, that's a tremendous amount of elk.
Our herd, a local herd in here all the time of probably 100 or so. And then as the season progresses, it gets later in the fall, the elk come into the rut, we'll build numbers up to around 400 to 500 head.
But most of what you try to harvest is mature animals, a 5 and 6 year old, and that's pretty neat to be able to do that.
We only hunt a limited amount of hunters. We'll never over harvest. It's something that is going to be built and last for generations if taken care of properly. Charlie, this is Tim Good from Cody, Wyoming.
Tim, what's going on, man?
Not much. We're ready to elk hunt.
I like that hat you got on there. That really says it all. That's what old Dirt and I are shooting this week, and we really like those bows, man. I'm telling you, that limb saver bow is awesome. How are we going to approach this? We're going to stand hunt, or we're going to hunt in the mornings, walk, and then stand hunt, or what?
Well, we're going to hunt all day. Try to locate the elk, see where they're at, see how they're moving, see if we can't find where they're going into the timber maybe, and see if we can call one up. And then in the afternoon, we're going to find where these elk are watering and where they're coming in and out of the timber. And we're going to set up either in a ground blind or in a tree stand and see if we can't catch them coming out the water.
Are you not real fast, though, are you?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm not real fast. You know, it takes me about 2 days to get acclimated to this area out here, but I think I can do pretty good after that.
Yeah, after doing this a few years, you'll learn it. You don't have to hurry.
So it's day one of Charlie's hunt in Wyoming, and the many comforts of home have stirred our senses. The guides who run the camp here at Powderhorn have taken every step to ensure that the experience here is first class, even if it means getting up well before sunrise.
Charlie and I started our hunt the first morning bright and early. We got up 5 o'clock, got our gear all ready, loaded up, headed out, and it wasn't long. Just as daylight was breaking, we could barely see. We had a herd of a few cows and a nice big bull coming out of the timber headed for the water hole there just below Bald Ridge.
It took little more than a drive and a 5-minute walk for Charlie to see the first elk of his trip.
We watched these elk for quite a while from up on top of the hill. They actually fed off into a canyon. We gave them about an hour to settle down, and then we moved out and decided that the best way to hunt that bull was to set up a blind at the nearest water hole. So after a little bit of discussion with some of our fellow hunters, we decided on a water hole, which later on in the day we set a blind and commenced to wait and see if they would come out. And it was just one of those things. They decided to water at a different hole, and we didn't see them that night.
So, what seemed like a promising morning has faded into a beautiful sunset. But don't worry, Charlie will get a lot closer look at these Wyoming bulls tomorrow, when Hunting University returns. It's our second morning hunting the Bighorn Mountains of northern Wyoming with Powderhorn Outfitters, and our host Charlie Ingram is hoping that today looks just as promising as it did yesterday. Our guide Tim Good has taken us to a different area this morning, and the elk sign is everywhere.
We decided that we would take a little stroll down towards this one canyon, and as we did, we started to hear numerous elk bugling below us. As we went down, it just became louder and louder, and it was just pandemonium by the time we got to the point of this ridge overlooking this big canyon, and it was just full of elk. So we watched them for quite a while, and we tried to bugle some up, and it just to no avail. They had so many cows and so much going on in the bottom of the canyon, we just couldn't get one called up over the top. Some of the elk actually went out to a near water hole opposite the wall of the canyon we were on, and so that gave us an idea that was the good water hole for the evening.
Knowing that the elk from this morning could be close, Tim has opted not to put down a pop-up for this evening's hunt because he doesn't want to risk spooking anything during the setup.
We made a makeshift blind with some of the sagebrush and stuff that was around and a little camo netting, and it wasn't long before we had a little raghorn come up beside us and snoop around a while, and he came right down in front of the blind, but we let him go, of course, back down the canyon with the rest of them bugling. We did a little cow talking, and we had a nice bull come out of the draw, and Charlie started to draw on him, but this bull was so quick, so sharp-eyed, caught the movement, wheeled around, and got out of bow range before we could do anything.
So each day is getting increasingly more tense. This location is a hot spot for the elk moving between feeding and watering, and the perfect ambush point. So, as night falls and becomes day 3, we find ourselves back in the same canyon, but with a little different setup.
We decided after day 2 and all the activity in this canyon, we took another step when we set a good blind up there, and I decided that to alleviate some of the movement, I would step back a ways and let Charlie in the blind by himself, and he sat there for the biggest part of the day. I got way up on the ridge where I could see what was going on, and he did have some elk come by at different times. One spike come up and actually put on a good little dance for him.
But with that big bull remaining elusive and time slowly ticking away, Tim decides to call in the big guns to help get Charlie up close and personal on day 4. Powderhorn guide and animal biologist Trinity Powers has been guiding Dirt the last few days, but with Dirt in need of a bow tuning session, Trinity has decided to give a day up and help put us on a bull.
You know, Trinity, I really respect his knowledge of hunting elk. He's taught me a tremendous amount. His degree in wildlife management really helps in the hunting.
After spending the morning hours searching for a bull to call up, our guides decide that the travel corridors are going to be the ticket for reeling in the big ones. Since the elk have been going to water midday and also in the evening, Trinity decides that we'll spend the afternoon hunting from a tree stand just off the water hole.
So we went ahead and set the tree stand up. Charlie ended up getting there early in the day. We backed up the hill about a half mile so we could watch.
This approach should give Charlie his best chance to take a bull on his last day.
Much to our surprise, there was a bull in the water already. It definitely reassured us that we'd put the stand in a good location and that the wind was right for the location and everything was going to work perfect.
After a few more hours of sitting, there is finally some activity again, just off the water.
One of us looked down and actually saw a lone bull, and I knew that we could get him called in because the bull was wanting to go somewhere.
And where he is headed is right to the water.
I think he put on quite a show for Charlie. The only thing is he was on the wrong end of the pond. We thought he was coming in from a different direction.
Which makes the range just over 65 yards. Although it's not quite in his comfort zone, Charlie finally decides to try it. But we'll need to hurry because this one is headed the wrong way.
He started to work up the ridge, kind of away from Charlie's position. It's almost impossible to get a shot because you don't have any of the cover that you'd set up for.
And through all the adrenaline and excitement, Charlie's aim was a bit high. Charlie concedes to let this bull see another day.
It was a really nice bull in the water. It was amazing to sit there and watch him. Too bad Charlie couldn't get him, but he walked out a different direction, and that was the end of it.
Anyone who bow hunts knows that archery is a game of inches. If the range is off, or if a sapling is not removed from your shooting lane, you may miss the trophy of a lifetime. But positioning for that shot is the other half of archery hunting. And thanks to Powderhorn, Charlie was blessed with the opportunity to take his best shot. Coming up, we'll catch up with Dirt and see how he fared in the mountains of Wyoming. Hunting University will be right back.
You know, you've seen us hunt in 38 countries, but I'm going to tell you one thing, this is one of the most exciting places we've ever been. Powderhorn Outfitters is right out of Sheridan, Wyoming. The Powers family, they understand their mission statement and they've stuck to it. This is Trinity Powers, and it's the first encounter for me with these guys, but I can tell you after just talking to them 10 minutes, you'll understand why their mission statement is so strong. My friend, it is good to finally be here.
It's good to meet you, Dirt, that's for sure.
I'm going to tell you the things that are important to us. First of all, the hunt is important, but the people that are good stewards of the entire process, and I'm telling you that's why we're here. We understand how you do business, why you do business, and what I want you to do is tell them.
It was a long-term goal when we first took the ranch over to get it at its maximum potential. And to do that, we were short one thing, and that was water. David Flintner, that owns the Hideout Ranch, has put water into places that there's never been water. As a result of that, wildlife populations have flourished.
I hope you out there are really understanding what kind of commitment it takes for a family to generate this, what kind of commitment it takes for David Flintner to join in this entire process.
We are here to ensure that everybody that comes with us has a quality hunt, and everybody is striving for that perfection.
Listen, Old Dirt ain't in the score business, but I do like quality animal. So far from everything I've heard from this Powers family, I'm telling you, you guys are on the hunt, not about the score. But you got good ones.
We got good ones. We haven't had any archery hunters since we've taken the program over. We've come to a spot where we're going to start allowing some archery hunting. We're talking about 3 to 4 a year. I wanted it showcased so everybody could see exactly what we've done. We've got mature bulls running around everywhere. We're doing more of an age-specific harvest compared to a score harvest.
I'm telling you, go to the website, there'll be a direct link over to Powderhorn. Listen to me, make the play. And I haven't been in the woods yet. I'm gonna tell you, it does not get any better Old Dirt than this. When you have this kind of location and this kind of production people, you've just almost got to witness it to believe it. This place reeked with elks. You could actually walk in the woods and smell them when you went in. Quality elk archery. I took the best equipment you can get. Dead zone limb saver. I shot it maybe 100 times after I got here. Did a little tweaking, making sure that I could shoot 50, 60, maybe even 70 yards. They got the location. So you do your part. Listen to me, you gotta make this play if you love elk hunting. The first time we go out there, oh man, we're already in elk. I'm talking about instantaneously.
The hunting property is so vast. The first morning we just went out to try to find and locate some of the elk. Typically what these elk do is they come out from the bottom of these canyons, they get on the ridges because that's where the water's located. And they'll feed out there all night, and then in the morning they drop down into the timber. Once they get into the timber, we leave them alone. So what we try to do is figure out an ambush point in between the bedding and the water source.
We got wind problems, all of those things that always bother you.
My dad and uncle had went down and located a different bunch of elk that had cows and a really nice 6-point bull in there, so that's where we concentrate our effort in the afternoon.
So they had found another huge herd of elk over in another canyon. We got everything set up perfectly. Trinity did the calling.
Something had spooked them back in there but they were so worked up that we really couldn't get on them and take advantage of the situation.
With these elk heading into the timber early, we'll have to start all over in the morning. But Dirt gets the opportunity to see plenty more action when Hunting University returns. We're in northern Wyoming with Trinity Powers of Powderhorn Outfitters, and the rising sun on Dirt's second day has revealed nothing more than an empty canyon full of sage. But it's not what we can see, it's what we can hear that has Trinity stirred up.
As soon as we got off the break of the hill, we could hear cows and a few bulls talking. We went to glass in the timber and we could see the elk in there. The bulls are frantic, they're running around, and we knew that if we could get right there close to the edge of the herd, that there'd be a good chance of calling any of those bulls into us. We set up a blind with the wind in our favor of where it blows during the evening. I started doing a little calling. All of a sudden we could tell bulls were working, and they were working our direction.
The first bull that came in went slightly below us, which was downwind. As soon as he caught the wind, wheeled around, end of the story.
Another bull was coming down. I cow called, I bugled, and he come right to us.
Now we got these cows involved. That's even worse. More eyes, more noses, all in that business. They started up just up on the high portion of it from us, came all the way down the front.
He bugled again. He was within 100 yards. At that point, I backed off to swing him because he was kind of going downwind. I kept calling. The bull did exactly what we wanted to, and he came right into one of Dirt's shooting lanes.
Made a mistake. He stood there long enough. The problem with it was, you got a camera guy here, and you got bushes and trees and bushes and trees, and they had no window. When you hit a nanosecond, he was going to be out of the game. Picked out that little 10-inch hole or whatever it was, and let it go. And the camera guy, he's over here just 3 feet off of me. But let me tell you something. 3 feet here, lens, arrow here is a big difference.
After he shot, I went down to see how good the hit was. It was a good blood trail, and we knew what the end result would be.
As soon as I saw that blood, there was no question that Fred was going to be right there pretty close.
We started real cautiously following the blood trail. He hadn't went 50 yards probably, and right over a rim rock, he was dead.
That's the most exhilarating part of an archery hunt, is when you know, because you see the flight of the air. But I'm going to tell you this much. I was pumped. You know what I'm saying? I was pumped. I promise you, I couldn't be happier.
I hope you are.
I'm telling you, buddy. Anybody says Wyoming hadn't got them has never been here.
We took a few quick pictures because it was getting late. We came back in the next morning with ATVs.
LJ, the camera guy, he goes in the top. He's sitting on the bank. There's a couple of hundred elk over there. There's 20 mature bulls. Watch this. LJ's got this bugling elk in his face at 20 yards. A much, much, much better shot than I had. There's one thing different about TV and just hunting on your own. Some of the time, we won't even have as good a footage as possible because we don't want to cause a problem as far as getting set up on them. You just can't fix those things, just the stroke of luck.
But don't call it bad luck. In fact, Dirt couldn't be more satisfied with the results of this week's events.
Charlie and I have the same thoughts about this place and this process. And it will be one of your truly memorable hunts. Listen to me, you got to make this play if you love elk hunting. Powderhorn, Sheridan, Wyoming. Go to Hunting University website, be a direct link, make the play. You'll never have a better time.